Welcome everyone to another episode of the Classic Sports Review. And with me as always is my regular co-host, although he kind of looks like a professor now with the new look there. Glenn Paslawski, the greatest triathlete ever to come from Buffalo, who defended that title in Antarctica, who's now coming to an institution of higher learning near you.
Yes. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good. Now, I told you I would bring a guest, and I've got one hell of a guest. You know him, and if you're a regular visitor of the Buchnerverse, that's what I'm dubbing all of this now. If I'm going to have a whole bunch of shows, it's a Buchnerverse, complete with the hand wave, which, yeah, why not? I've got Tom Hall, and Tom, you got something to promote before we go any further.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'll be starting my own podcast called Legends of Mile High. It is going to premiere on Friday, May 6th at 7 a.m. Mountain Time. It's going to be a bit of a unique football Broncos podcast where I'm going to mix the current events with a perspective from history. And then to end the show, there will be a story that I'm calling the Mile High Legend, which will talk about a legend from Mile High or a game from Mile High from history and hopefully make it kind of unique.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully, though, with the title, The Legends of Mile High, you don't get a lot of people coming in thinking like, oh, this is going to be, wait a minute, this is about football.
Yeah, I kind of thought about that too. Like, could have a different connotation, but hopefully, you never know. There might some person in the live chat might have a story that we'll find interesting. You never know.
Absolutely. So perfect person to bring on for looking at an old Broncos game. And if you're wondering, hey, how come there's no one here from a Cleveland perspective? It's because I don't know anybody.
I don't think they want to talk about it.
Well, you never know. We got the Violator to talk about the Tuck rule.
It's true. That's true.
So if we can get him for that and he can kick all our asses.
Well, he wanted to come in and right or wrong. I mean, let's face it, that Tuck rule, that was just, and I remember sending you still photographs of how bad a call it was. But that's just my venom against Tom Brady that I will go to the grave with. And I don't know if I've mentioned it to you before, but you're going to have to pull me out of the NFL Hall of Fame committee because I'm going thumbs down on Tom Brady.
What?
It's not a principle. The first year we voted, I'm going thumbs down.
Well, okay, that's why you missed the last one. I eliminated the thumbs down.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Okay, that's how up to date I am in the committee that I'm on.
Well, you're in a lot of committees.
Yeah, I know. A lot of committees, a lot of hemispheres, a lot of countries.
Absolutely. Well, today we have got Cleveland, Denver. I guess we could say it's known as the Fumble game, but Cleveland, Denver 2. Or as Glenn likes to say, the game he eventually watched because he watched the wrong one first.
And I have notes from the wrong one too.
Right on.
Oh, yes. So
did you watch the one before?
I did. And the funny thing about that, and again, I was 2-week quarantine in New Zealand, and Kirk sends me this, yeah, you do a show from New Zealand. I'll be up here you were still in Barbados. I was still in
Barbados, yeah.
And we'll do a bi-hemisphere show.
Oh, yeah.
And because of the 17-hour time difference, it was just impossible to get us connected. And again, 2 weeks quarantine, I'm going to watch stuff. So I watched the one game and I'm waiting for the fumble, and it ended up being the drive. Then I watched the second game. And I mean, there were similarities to both games where Cleveland came in as a good team, not necessarily the better team, but they did a lot of uncharacteristic things in both games that we'll address.
Mm-hmm. So this is taking place on January 17th, 1988. According to Wikipedia, they say Cleveland was favored by 3, but then in the broadcast, they said Denver were favorites. So of course, it's Wikipedia, so it doesn't necessarily mean that was true. Either way, this was a game 1 full year in the making, realistically. I think anyone who didn't have a rooting interest, and throw myself in that, that's what we wanted to see. These were the two teams. There was unfinished business, and Elway reminded me again why he was just a different cat in this era. It was also a very weird year too. This was the year of the replacement players. Useless trivia fact. I don't know if any of you know this. Do you know who was that Suge Knight was a replacement player?
No.
Yes.
Say what? I didn't hear you. What?
Suge Knight.
Really?
Yes. He was a replacement player for the Rams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I was old enough, I probably could have been a replacement player.
I've got a Shane Falco jersey. It's
funny because they talk about one of the players from the Cleveland Browns that hung on from being a replacement player. I can't remember his name, but
I think number 50, and I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
but that surprised me.
He stuck around after they started bringing the regular players back.
So it starts at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. We've got this. I was already confused right from the beginning because they did a Peter Gabriel song, "In Your Eyes," and when I think of that, because it's got the focus on Elway's eyes, and he's always got eyes in the back of his helmet. He really doesn't, because you can't. First off, and even if he did have eyes in the back of his head, he's got a helmet on, so it won't work. So there's that. I had to look this up. This was a year and a half before Say Anything, where John Cusack's got the boom box. So it wasn't, at first it felt very creepy, but so be it. We've got Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen. And Tom, I don't know if you know what we did last time. We looked at the first USFL game, and we got a big upgrade in announcers, let me tell you.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen were a couple of my favorites back when I was a kid.
Legends, absolute legends.
I loved them. And the funny thing too is, Merlin Olsen was drafted by the Broncos.
Oh,
but he never,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he never played a game for them. He got drafted by the Rams and the Broncos when they were in the AFL. He played for the Rams. In fact, there's several players, Hall of Fame players, that the Broncos drafted in the AFL draft that never played a down for them. So, but Merlin Olsen was one of those. Yeah.
My first note was, why the hell does he have the Amish beard?
Right.
And then I looked it up. He was playing an Amish guy.
Yeah.
In a TV show I don't remember called Aaron's Way.
Well, I think that needs to make its way onto your other podcasts. How the hell did this get on the air?
Thank you for the plug. And I looked for it, but all I could find was a 10-second clip. And next on Aaron's Way, Aaron tries to get a driver's license.
I vaguely remember that show. Vaguely.
And the clip was, "Hi, I'd like to get a driver's license. Do you have any identification?" "No." "Well, how do people know who you are?" "I say, hi, I'm Aaron." Yeah, then another clip I found, it's Merlin Olsen in the bar beating up somebody, or he doesn't want to beat anybody up because he's Amish. I can't imagine why this show didn't do well when you had Amish people in California and it was like the fish out of water. And apparently they said it was offensive to Amish people, but how would they know? They're not watching. But anyway.
That's a great point, actually. That is a great point.
So we've got Marty Schottenheimer. They mention versus Dan Reeves, 11th championship game as a player or coach. Damn.
That's impressive.
Dan Reeves, before Belichick and that whole Brady era, he was the leader of Super Bowl appearances as a coach, player, and assistant coach.
Yeah, so
nine. Yeah,
we got a real classic battle of the minds here. Denver. I don't remember them actually showing who won the toss, but that was back in the day with whoever won the toss actually wanted the ball, right, as opposed to what we do now, which amazingly it took this long to figure that out. Hey, why don't you want the ball to start the second half? That makes far more sense. But
analytics have progressed in the last couple decades.
Exactly. So Carlos kicks off to Gerald McNeil. This turned out to be his best year, his only year as a Pro Bowler, and we meet the Cleveland starters. Quarterback Bertie Kosar, running back Ernest Biner, fullback Kevin Mack, wide receivers Reggie Langhorne and Webster Slaughter, tight end Ozzie Newsome, and the O-line of Paul Farron, Greg Rakowski, Mike Babb, Dan Fike, and Cody Risen. First thing I wrote down is, I mean, I knew a lot of people were buying into the Bernie Kosar hype. I don't remember getting it because I remember him as so immobile. Oh my God, I didn't remember him as this immobile. I just called him Clubfoot for the rest of the game.
Well, immobile, awkward delivery, but like they said in the telecast, he got the job done.
Yeah, just also being a good guy too.
And I don't remember if this is actually true or not, but I remember when I was watching it as a youngster, that he was one of the few players that's when he took the snap from under center, he always had his leg back to get him an extra step. I don't know if he started it or he kind of brought it into prominence because, he was a popular player. But I remember him being one of the first ones that really did that because he was so slow.
I guess just too nice for his own good. Because did any of you guys see the 30 for 30 broke?
Yeah. That poor guy, his own family.
Yeah.
That was
bad. He pretty much got bankrupted by his own father. And as I'm watching this game, just trying to do this with fresh eyes, and I feel so bad knowing what the rest of his life is going to be.
Oh yeah, this 24-year-old who has his life ahead of him. Mm-hmm. They're talking, well, he'll be 38 years old and playing till 2000 whatever, and no, that didn't happen.
No,
and rich quarterback, and no, that's not going to happen. So yeah, I was along the same lines as you, Kirk.
Yeah, and I think what they told me, when we're going to feature you in an ESPN big thing one day. Oh man, it's going to be like when I took Cleveland to the Super Bowl. No, it's when your father took your money. But oh well. Let's see. So
you're saying these two back-to-back losses led to misery, misfortune, and bankruptcy?
Bill Simmons sure did. I think he said that better than I ever could. But yeah, just sort of like everything about Cleveland. So this lack of mobility shows right away when he's immediately sacked for an 8-yard loss. He looks not like the quarterbacks we're used to seeing now, and even on the other side of the field. Man, Elway, I can't wait to talk about him more. And Tom, I'm sure you've got so much that you're going to be able to add here. Buchner rushes for 6. Enberg says Schottenheimer told him that Buchner is the last one he would ever trade.
That's true.
Yeah. And
we'll see how you feel in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
No, I believe that's still true because we all know what happened. And he was hated by fans. The front office hated him. And he wasn't gone until Schottenheimer was gone. And then he went to the Washington Redskins and
he had a great game.
Year.
He did win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I mean, Schottenheimer still stuck by him until they booted him for Bud Carson, I think, and then Buchner was gone too. So yeah, Schottenheimer still stuck by him even after the fumble. So yeah, it's true. I think he really believed that.
And I think also watching when we get there, I got a totally different perspective than what I remembered, from watching this. So it'll be sort of really good to get to. And then we were introduced to the Broncos defense, Andre Townsend, Greg Cragen at nose, Rulon Jones, Simon Fletcher, the albino rhino, Carl Mecklenburg. Love that nickname. One of my favorite
players of all time.
Yes.
I love Carl Mecklenburg. He is.
Ricky Hunley, Jim Ryan, an outside linebacker, Mark Haynes, who had a pretty good game at corner, Steve Wilson, and our safeties, Tony Lilly and Dennis Smith. Okay, so not a starting defensive end. Freddie Gilbert catches a ricocheted ball right away. So we've got our first interception and our first takeaway. So does a dance, and Merlin Olsen likes this dance because he's Amish. It's the first time he ever saw a dance like that. So there you go. And then we're reintroduced to, for me anyway, I love doing these programs. Just all these names I remember as a teen, just Sammy Winder. I used to love watching him play, and we get him right away. Rushes for 6, and then another 5. So he's the first 2. It said here that the graphic comes up that Sammy Winder led Denver in rushing for 5 seasons. So I looked this up. He didn't lead them again, and here's Tom's first trivia question, which I know he's going to hit out of the park. Who was the leading rusher in the year after?
I'm thinking Bobby Humphrey, but I could be wrong. I think he got drafted in the 89 supplemental draft. So
it would have been 88.
Yeah, it would be 88.
Yeah.
Way to put him on the spot, Kirk.
Well,
Gaston Green.
It was Tony Dorsett. I forgot.
I totally forgot he was a Bronco.
Yeah.
I forgot that he. Yeah, I knew he was a Bronco, but I totally spaced that. That is right. He came that year after Everybody thought he was going to be amazing. He had like 750 yards on the season or something.
Which, to be fair, because I was looking that up, it was actually more than he accumulated in the 2 years before as a Cowboy.
Well, yeah, he was aging. He was done. Yeah, wow. Sorry, man. I shouldn't have forgot that.
Well, I did put you on the spot. I did not tell you when I asked you to do this. There would
That's
be
all right.
trivia.
There will be Denver. There will be Denver trivia, and you're going to be the only one that's going to be able to answer them.
I'll hopefully get some more right.
Well, we're meeting the Denver offense. So, of course, quarterback John Elway, running back Sammy Winder, fullback Gene Lang. I didn't remember him. I loved watching. I loved watching him today. The wide receivers, Ricky DeTeal, Mark Jackson, Vance Johnson is not with us because of a very severe injury. That was the week before, I believe.
Yeah, cheap shot.
Yes.
He got put out, was in the hospital actually while they were playing.
Yes. Yeah. So only 2 of the 3 amigos are here. I'm going to ask you more about Natil later. Tight end Clarence K, and then our line of Dave Stuttered. Easy for me to say. Keith Bishop, Mike Freeman. Sorry, not Tom Nalen, because I would love, because if for those why I bring that up, yes. If you want to understand why Tom Nalen should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Tom Hall will tell you exactly why. It's already up on the Buchnerverse.
Right. It's on the Buchnerverse.
It's on the Buchnerverse. And he convinced a lot of us. And to the point where when he wasn't a preliminary candidate, I don't think I was as upset as you, but I was certainly upset.
Yeah, I was disappointed to make it through, but yeah, he's definitely Hall of Fame worthy.
And rounding it out, we have Stephen Humphreys and Ken Lanier. So they get to first and goal. We have our first injury. Carl Harrison, he's on the ground, commercial break. And as we're back from the commercial, we've learned that he's okay. And Cleveland does need him because he did lead them in sacks with 8. Olsen made a joke that does not age well. He had a concussion before earlier in the season. His teammate Sam Clancy said he's okay. He just had a cracked brain.
Yeah, back then was
yeah. I had to check to see if Carl Harrison's still alive. And he is. He actually he won a Super Bowl as the defensive end coach with the Rams. And he just stopped coaching in 2015. So I guess he doesn't have a cracked brain.
His cracked brain.
He recovered.
Healed okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next play, touchdown pass to Natil. And I forgot how good he was. But then I looked up. This was his best season. So, Tom, this is what I want to ask you here. Like, what happened to Ricky Natil? Like, was it injuries? Was it just, like, what did I miss here?
Yeah, no, he came on, he burst on the scene as a rookie and was, the next big thing, super fast, but he was small and he didn't follow through the career. I don't remember. I don't think it was injuries. He just, he surprised everybody in his rookie season and then he kind of faded. It was like Mike Kroll, same kind of thing, for the Broncos, where great rookie season and then he just faded. And small guy. I couldn't tell you exactly what happened, but the 3 amigos did not live up to the hype.
No, but I mean, like it's the 80s. I mean, the most famous player on that Bears team 2 years ago was William Perry, out of a team that had Walter Payton at that time, at that
Singletary.
Year. Yeah, but it was all about Perry.
It was all about the fridge.
Yeah, it was all about the fridge for that particular one. That would be sort of a good one to look at. The only thing is I would make anyone who participated watch the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Yeah. Yeah, Natil, I don't know. Yeah, Natil was just one of those guys. He played, I think he got injured, a couple times, but, he played full seasons or pretty close to it a few times, but and maybe one of the injuries slowed him down a little because it was his speed that really made him who he was. Because he played. I used to love watching the NFL's Fastest Man back then. I don't know if you got to see that competition. He was in that. Yeah, they would race the 60-yard dash, and he was in that super fast guy, but small. And
I guess also too, like when you have that lack of size and then you lose a step.
Yeah.
Yes.
You just can't. Really,
and that was it. I mean, the Broncos and then onto the Oilers, who had the small, speedy receivers. That was kind of the thing for the late 80s, early 90s. to have those speed receivers and just spread them out all over the field and just try to hit them when you can.
So Cleveland gets the ball back off the kickoff. Good return by McNeil, starting on the 35. Fullback Mack rushes for 7, Buchner for 2, and then Mack just powers it right through to get to a first down. Just a really good run. A flop pass to Buchner just looked like I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, I guess it's just what Kosar was able to do. You're open, I'm going to figure out how to do that. And it was ugly. Watching him throw was ugly, but it was effective.
Got it done.
Yeah, he got it done. So Buchner gets another 7, then he rushes for another 2. Olsen mentions how, and I didn't know this at the time, that Buchner was back when they had 10 rounds. So he was a 10th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And Enberg says,
they might have had 12 rounds back.
Yeah, it was 12 rounds.
Yeah. We're sort of a day removed. Well, we're recording this the day before the draft, which will be, well, I never thought that it would ever come that I can't watch playoff basketball. The draft's on. That's what's going to happen.
Well, you have your monitor set up to playoff basketball. You have one TV hooked up to the draft, and then you get your wife's laptop and have it hooked up to hockey.
There's also that. But I'm now a Jets guy, and they're now officially eliminated. So
you're Canadian. You're a hockey guy.
Oh, that's true. That is very.
I mean, you try to introduce Corsi into the USFL.
Yeah, I got. How many times did I get that name wrong? I even put that in the bio too.
And I didn't stop you.
I noticed that too. Thank you for that. Yeah, because I called Lee Corsi nonstop, and you just let me do it every damn time. That's why
Corsi number.
Yeah, yes, because that's why you're the greatest co-host on the Buchnerverse. All right, where did we leave off here? Enberg says, well, Schottenheimer says, you just give the ball to Buchner, he's going to find a way to win. And for the most part, that was true for the most of this game. We'd see later that wasn't necessarily the case. But Matt gets the ball and he fumbles. So we got our second takeaway. Yeah. Wilson gets the ball from a Lilly strip. So we've got, just really good defense, just focusing on the ball as opposed to the man. And that's going to be something that's going to really play out later. And our second takeaway. Stat would come up later that said Cleveland had the least amount of takeaways in this game in the year.
Over the 2 years.
Over the 2 years. Oh, was it 2 years? Okay, I missed that.
The last 2 years, they committed the least turnovers in the league, and turnovers played a role in the previous year's game. Mm-hmm. And this was just kind of a pseudo carbon copy leading into this game. And I don't know whether it was just Denver knew how to take the ball away from them, or they got locked up, or I don't know what happened, how you go from creating the least or fumbling, intercepting least amount of times to just coughing it up in the biggest game of the year.
And sometimes it's just better to be lucky than good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, the Browns were riddled with errors in this game. It wasn't just turnovers. I mean, they were shooting themselves in the foot the entire game, pretty much.
Right.
So, I mean, they the sack on Kosar early on, set him way back just before the interception. They had some dumb penalties all along that just, they just shot themselves in the foot. So I don't know if it was just, hey, it's the big time and we're the Cleveland Browns, so we're going to mess it up or what. But yeah, they shot themselves in the foot a ton.
Well, not only that, but they mentioned, and I can't remember the kicker's name offhand, but he was injured and they didn't feel comfortable with him kicking anything.
Yeah.
Over 40 yards, and he hadn't completed anything over 31 yards. Yet you're going into a championship game or even to a championship season where you think you're going to contend for a Super Bowl, and your kicker is not going to be dependable. So I don't know what the GM was thinking going into a season with a kicker that cannot kick.
Well, it was the 80s too. I mean, wasn't that whole decade dominated by people who had really were not from all these non-football countries? Ali Haji Sheikh.
Some of them. Yeah.
And the barefooting kicker.
Yeah.
Rich Carlos is barefooted.
There was a barefooted kicker in this game.
Yeah. I think it was the Cleveland kicker.
Rich Carlos. Yeah. Rich Carlos was the last barefooted kicker. I know Wilkins tried it for about 7 games, but Carlos was the last full-time barefooted kicker.
I'll never understand that. That just.
I'll tell you why.
Okay. Please.
In fact, this is a little story, but yeah. So Rich Carlos was he was a punter in college, and they wanted him to switch to kicker. So to get the feel for the ball, he took his shoe off to get a better feel for the ball, and he just kept kicking that way.
Wow.
And,
I can see it when you're doing the kickoff. What scares me is if you're doing that kickoff and now you've got to like
tackle someone.
Yes. That's more what I'm thinking. Okay.
In the snow, you're in the snow. It's cold. I mean, up in Denver, he's out, walks out with barefoot with snow on the ground. But he's stuck with it.
You know, at that point though, I mean, like mentally, you can't even get yourself out of that anyway. Once you're doing that. Well, on this drive, the star is Gene Lang, finds a hole because he started Denver started on their own 40, and he had a 42-yard rush to the Cleveland 10, and just not some great tackling here. We saw a lot of this. This game could have been a lot deeper in terms of some missed tackles. Winder gets the ball for the next 2 times, gets into the 5, and then into the 2. Elway gets inside the 1 for a first down. Winder can't put it through, but Elway then recovers a fumble and a botch snap, and incompletion in the end zone. So pretty much a moral victory for Cleveland. But wait, Frank Minifield everything sort of is called back because there's a holding penalty. I also noted Frank Minifield has now won the official Classic Sports Review Award as the first player to be in 2 games in a row.
2 consecutive sports reviews.
Yes. You can claim your prize in Buffalo. Glenn's got that. I think it's a beer in the fridge, but it's still something.
It is.
Yes. I'm sure you'd welcome Frank.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If he's watching.
For sure. I'm sure he wants to relive this.
Honestly, I didn't see the hold.
Well, that's my next note. They show him upset.
I saw one.
Well, of course you did.
Of course,
but, I mean, just go, and again, I think I brought this up several times on games that we're reviewing. How do we ever watch games like this? I mean, the picture was grainy. There wasn't high definition, and I did have to pause it, rewind it to see that there was no holding. Tom, fine, there was holding. You saw the holding clear as day, but I did not see the holding. And I could understand why he was berating the official for what could have been a long time, because I think they went to a commercial, came back, and there he was still live berating the official.
Yeah, but they showed that, but not a replay of the hold.
They showed the play, but again, it was such a crappy angle.
Yeah. Well,
again, I couldn't see it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When we watch these old games, it's my first thing is like, wait a minute, how come I don't see the score right on the bottom and the time lapse? And
the down and distance, all that stuff.
Oh my God!
You had to keep track of it in your head. Yeah, remember it in your head back then, and it was a snowy TV. There was, it was like it looked like it was snowing every game you watched.
Or if you got home late and you get home, it's like 1:40 Eastern, and all right, so you turn on the game, like, come on, what's the score? I don't know.
You gotta wait for that the old ticker to just drop down.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yep. Yeah. So the interesting thing, I don't know if this maybe it's only interesting to me, but I remember watching this in high school at the dorm that I lived in high school. I actually I lived in a dorm, the only public high school that had a dormitory. It was on Sunday night, and I remember going to school and watching this game in the dorm with a bunch of other kids. So weird.
Nice.
That's a pretty high class public school to have dorms.
I don't know if it's high class, but we had to live in a dorm.
That's wild.
Yeah. It was very irritating watching games with some kids that you just did not want to watch a game with.
Right away, reverse to Sewell, and he pretty much walks in. We've got extra point, good, 14-0. After the commercial, which they didn't show, which is just as well. I didn't want to see these old 80s commercials anyway.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, I did.
Elizabeth Shue was in one of them. I mean, you got to have Elizabeth Shue at the Burger King. That was one, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So now they're showing actually the hold again, or no, no, actually, no, that's not what they did. Now they're still looking at Minifield beacon off. Cleveland starts off on the 30. Kozar to Newsom. I think this was the only catch he made in this game. Ozzy, or was it? I think he only had like one or two.
He wasn't a big factor, that's for sure.
No. They mentioned how at this point in his career, no one had caught more passes at tight end. I checked; he's currently 6th, behind Gates, Witten, Gonzalez, Sharp, and I was a little surprised. Greg Olson has passed him too. I never think of him as, but you know,
no, but didn't he have a 15-year career?
That's true.
So yeah, if you hang around long enough in this era, you're going to catch some balls.
Right. Well, Haynes didn't let Newsom get another one because it was incomplete. But Buchner rushes for 9.5. We got 3rd and 1. A surprise pass I thought wrote to their backup, Derek Tennell. I don't remember him, and I didn't bother looking up anything he did after. Don't care. Sorry. Things I cared about, things I didn't. So we got a 1st down at the 29. Here's an interesting graphic that comes out. Kozar, because Kozar was only 1 year old the last time Cleveland won a title. As it turns out, Kozar is only 1 year old when Cleveland last won a title. That hasn't changed.
Well, I mean, the Linear Browns have 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, the last time was in '64. Oh, the
Linear Browns.
Oh, okay.
The Ravens.
Ooh. Wow.
Sorry, Cleveland fans.
I'll tell you, I just have to say, Cleveland. I have to respect Cleveland Browns fans. I mean, they show up. They've been
absolutely
misery for years, but they show up and they are passionate, and they have not won anything in so long that, I mean, most of these people that are going to games don't even remember when that happened.
Okay, this is a perfect segue too, because I wanted to, and I'm glad you sort of mentioned that, because I don't want to forget asking this. I loved watching the Denver fans through all of this. Like this is just an incredible fan base, smart fan base, knew when to be loud. One thing though I didn't understand, and maybe I just don't remember. My God, that field was filthy. There's confetti.
Yeah, what was the pregame ceremony like with this confetti all over the place?
Like they were just tossing paper out onto the cut up paper. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why they did that. I don't know what prompted that, but yeah.
You're devoted fans, but you're not very sanitary.
Well, hey, it's better than Cleveland in the dog pound. They threw milk-bone dog biscuits and batteries at people. So
that is true. Well, didn't the Yankees just do that recently? The Yankee fans? Who were they throwing at? Well, whatever.
Yeah, well, in their defense, the Cleveland outfielder did climb the fence and yell at the fans. And you know, if you're going to intimidate, you expect something back if you're going to go up on a wall and talk back to fans.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Buchner rushes for 3. Kozar flush from the pocket, intentionally grounds. Olson mentions, in the most obvious statement ever, it was self-aware from Kozar. Kozar says by his own admission he can't run. But 3rd and 17. Oh, go ahead.
It was definitely night and day between the not just the 2 quarterbacks' ability to run, but how they talked about him on the broadcast.
Well,
it was like.
Here we are a day before the draft, right? Kozar went what he came out early and then was a supplemental pick, if I remember correctly. And Cleveland made a lot of gave up a lot to get him. If he was now available in the draft, the same quarterback that we see now for tomorrow's draft, is he even picked at all?
5th round.
It's hard to say. Yeah, not mobile, doesn't have a huge arm.
The game's changed so much. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, we're not characterizing Kirk Cousins as a mobile quarterback, and he went in the 4th round.
True, and you know, my quarterback forever, Drew Brees, wasn't exactly mobile either, but when Drew had to move, he could. Bernie,
yes. It just hurt to watch him run.
And this is when
at this young of an age.
He was what, 23, 24?
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, they made a comment about that he came out in like a normal, if he'd just stayed, he would be like 24 or something, 23 or something like that. So he was pretty young. I can't remember how old he was when he.
And despite all these deficiencies, they're building him like he's gonna join Elway in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about Kozar though is he could read the field. He could make he made the right audibles. I mean, that's a huge part, especially back then, being able to do that. Even today, if you don't have that ability, you're not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. So that was big, but yeah, he was just not mobile.
Well, and then we look at, like Jamarcus Russell, like what a beast he was. And he can throw 70 yards on his knees. Of course, that's technically illegal, so I don't see what the point of that was. But yeah,
well, in college it's illegal.
Yeah. Well, he would have
thrown with him is he didn't care to even learn.
No,
that was his problem.
Yeah, he just
that was
like,
his problem.
Really care.
And Kozar was putting in the work. And
yeah.
Right here on a 3rd and 17, he completes to Clarence Weathers for the first down. Another guy I didn't remember. Sounds like he should have been in a Motown band. Clarence Weathers. That just seems like maybe he should have been the 5th top. 4 tops. All right. As I've said before, often they're not all gems. 1st and 10 at the 20. Buchner stuff for no gain, and we've got the end of the first quarter. 14-0 Denver. So
all points off of turnovers.
Yes, all points off of turnovers.
Spotted him 14 points right away.
Mm-hmm. So as we start off, a 2-yard pass to Newsom, we did get another one, but a 3rd and 8 incomplete, holding on Dennis Smith. So this continues it. First down on the 13th, but Mike Babb, their center, is carried off. So we have another injury, and he did not come back. Buchner rushes for 5 to the 8. Max gets stuffed for only 1 yard. 3rd and 8, and this is something I don't remember. An official timeout due to noise.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It didn't look. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They used to throw penalty flags on the crowd.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, they did.
Yep. Yeah, it used to be a big deal. Yeah, like now it's like part of the game, but yeah, it used to be a penalty if the crowd wouldn't quiet down. In fact, a game against Cleveland, the Broncos Cleveland game, they actually switched sides of the field mid-game because they wouldn't quiet down, so they swapped, and they ended up being in the wrong side for a field goal, ended up losing, I think. Yeah, if I remember correctly, I don't remember what year it was, but they actually switched the teams to the other side instead of doing it at the quarter because of the crowd. They threw like 2 penalties and the crowd still wouldn't quiet down or something like that.
When did they stop that? I forgot all about that.
It got phased out.
Yeah.
I mean,
they weren't throwing penalties in 87, but I don't think. It
was on the books, but you saw it very rarely.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the rule being on the book. I never really remember watching a game, seeing a flag been thrown. I think they just waited for the crowd to calm down. But again, I'm glad they phased it out. I mean, particularly playoffs. I mean, you don't want to be affected by the crowd noise and win a game and get that home field. I mean, that's the whole point of it.
Now they've got the communication in the helmet too, so there's no real reason to have that anymore. But
no, but I mean, still, you're cut off halfway through the clock, and then you still got to go to the line and call out signals, call out your audibles. So it still is effective in today's game.
So Tom, you must have went to a lot of those games at Mile High, the original.
No, I wish. Actually, okay. No, I was not. I didn't grow up in Denver. I grew up in Oregon, so I did not get. One of my big regrets is not getting to go watch a game at Mile High.
Okay, because when we first started talking, you were out east. So I just
yes. So yeah. No, I grew up in Oregon, and it was the Broncos, 49ers, or Seahawks. And I started watching the Broncos. I liked them, and then the drive happened. I'm like, okay, I love this team. I'll never leave them, kind of thing. But yeah, no, I never went to Mile High. Although, like I said, it's a big regret. But that was way noisier than the current stadium, whatever they're calling in Power Field. Yeah, it was super loud. I think it had metal bleachers, so like when you pounded your feet, it was super loud. Yeah, it was extremely loud.
And then you'd stick to them if it's cold enough, especially if you're peeing.
Yeah, I think
not that I've ever done that
on them, but yeah, they're.
or in Buffalo. But it's in Buffalo. Who would notice? Sorry.
This is true.
All right. Beiner's open in the flat, but I felt like he didn't really go for something. I think he was afraid that he was going to get hit. So that's what I wrote that. And
he got the alligator arms.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so Barr comes in to make a 24-yard field goal, which they trusted him to make because, as you mentioned before, that's when they said that, because later on they would show a graphic that he only played 3 games that year, and he hadn't tried anything past 31 yards. So it's not that he didn't make it, he didn't even try. Now that could have been also too because of what was going on in those games. It didn't check that hard, but again, to your point, Glenn, that you brought up earlier, like,
you know,
you got to bring someone in.
Yeah, it's strange, the kicker situation back then, because they used to have kickoff specialists who never kicked a field. They would carry 2 kickers sometimes. It wastes a roster spot. Now you couldn't dream of doing that now.
No.
Like they would love to have a punter that could also kick field goals right now. But they used to carry a kickoff specialist to waste a roster spot back then. I don't know. They just never thought about the kicker situation like they do today. So strange.
Well, Cleveland kicks off into the end zone, so Denver starts at the 20. Incomplete to Natil, but Sewell gets a first down at 32. Winder rushes for 6 yards over the next 2 plays, and then we have another injury. Bob Paslawski comes out, and apparently he was substituting for Bob Golick. I forgot he was a Brown. I remember Bob Golick mostly fondly as Mike Rogers in Saved by the Bell, the college years, where he was that lovable guy who took care of Zach and the gang. I never said I was cool.
It's just funny that that's your only memory of him.
I didn't say that was my only memory of him. I said that was my favorite memory of him. If I had
again, football player and your favorite memory is from Saved by the Bell.
Yes. I'm what's called a Renaissance man.
I guess so.
Or you could call me other things.
Man of the arts.
Yes. And I should hear what my first wife used to call me. Sorry.
I'm done indulging you.
It's probably best. Elway does a draw for gets a first down, but there's a late hit on the play. And just watching Elway, I'm trying to remember, there wasn't that many quarterbacks in the 80s that you would like just design draw plays for. Like, but now it's fairly common, but it was Elway, Cunningham, and who? I was blanking.
I think that's it.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's what, you know, when they were showing also too, like his passing stats, and that's why the commenters would say, like, you don't go by that. Like, it's everything else that he can do. And you were just seeing that right there. But we get a late hit, just late hit even by those terms, because it was certainly a more vicious game back then. But Chris Hawkins late hit on the head, just stupid, and it was only a 5-yard penalty too, which is certainly a lot different now because that would be a 15. Denver's Clarence K is restrained. Oh, we almost have a brawl. Replay shows that Hawkins pushed K, who got in his face, but did it in front of the ref, so pretty stupid. But either way, it's not as big a deal as that would have been now. First and 10 on the Cleveland 39. Natil gets a 14-yard reception, another first down. Elway sees an opening later, rushes for 5, 3rd and 5. Natil open again, catches at 17 and takes it to the 1. So we got first and goal at the 1. Gene Lang puts it in, and extra point good, 21-3. At this point, I would imagine a lot of people would have been watching thinking it's going to be pretty hard for Cleveland to do anything. There's no reason to think that they're going to come back. But that's why they play the game.
And, you know, I'm kind of, not that I'm disappointed that they didn't show the halftime show, but in the 3rd quarter and in the 4th quarter, they kind of alluded to, I guess if you remember, Paul McGuire and Ahmad Rashad would go over the game, the game's first half. And I guess it was either Olsen or Enberg that said, well, Paul McGuire back in the studio said, "Oh, this game's not over. It's going to come down to a 3-point game. Turnovers are still going to play a big deal in this second half, and you're still going to have a good game coming out of this." So that would have been interesting to hear his whole complete take on that and what he actually saw happening came to fruition.
The unfortunate thing, is that third quarter and part of the fourth quarter, obviously, was a precursor for what was going to happen in the Super Bowl. So the Broncos, Dennis Smith had been injured all year, broke a forearm. He was back that was his first game back. So he was like totally rusty. Mike Harden, who was actually one of the most underrated Broncos players in my book, was lost in the previous game, playoff game, with a broken forearm. So they basically were decimated in their secondary. So being able to come back against that secondary with Kosar throwing was not unpredictable, really. And then you saw what happened in the Super Bowl, that, with the second quarter, that they just lit him up, because like Tony Lilly out there, rusty Dennis Smith, and, Mark Haynes was pretty good, but he was, on his kind of final throws of his career. And it wasn't surprising when I think about it looking back, like, yeah, the third quarter was not unpredictable.
I'm trying to remember who was Washington's quarterback in that Super Bowl, because they
Doug Williams.
Doug Williams.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't like, with all due respect, I'm so glad that he broke that barrier. Arguably, Doug Williams, overall career-wise, probably one of the worst quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl. When you think
Trent Dilfer.
I was going to say Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but if you look at the overall career, although Doug Williams unfortunately didn't get a chance that he should have gotten earlier in his career, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. We get back from the break. Bab is out of the game, and this drive goes nowhere. So just 3 and out. That's where Johnson, the Cleveland Cleveland punter's barefoot, works for him because it's a best punt of the game. Denver starts on their own 32, but Elway again is fantastic, just scrambling into Cleveland territory. Nothing's going right. Harrison's hurt again, this time from his own teammate colliding into him, which happens. 2 incomplete passes. Minifield was great here. Just super tight coverage on Sewell. And on the replay, they mentioned for the first and only time, not a Hall of Famer, Clay Matthews. Sorry, Cleveland, but you're not watching anyway.
Apologies to the one person from Cleveland that might be watching.
Yeah.
The Sam Mills is in the Hall of Fame, so Clay Matthews may get in.
Since we're there, I mean,
I'm sorry. I can't get over that they put Sam Mills in, and there's several linebackers that should be in.
Well, maybe they were just getting annoyed by Clay's daughter.
Maybe. That was a great campaign. That was a great campaign she put on. She almost got him in.
I don't think she even came close.
I heard that.
I think everybody out of spite said, "We're going to show up to this little blonde girl. We're not putting her daddy in the Hall of Fame."
No, but I think since we're here, I think what really got me where she seemed kind of clueless in a way, like the day of. Well, today might be the day. Like if you didn't know this already, today wasn't going to be the day.
Right.
They already filmed all that. That's back when Shrek was doing the knock. So like they took care of all that stuff with Shrek being David Baker.
Yeah.
Who is Evan Nolan.
I think he got some votes though.
I'm sure he did, but if she at that point is still waiting for a phone call for her dad, not realizing how that process worked. Yeah. But anyway, and no disrespect to him for you. It was great. I mean, I would do the same thing for my dad. So
sure. I'll do it for a Broncos player.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm even related to him.
Why not? No. Anyway, a third straight incompletion, but a hold against Denver, penalty declined. Carlos comes in to make a 51-yard attempt, but that looked deflected. I didn't see it on the replay because it was way wide left. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. I don't think he
might just mishit it.
I love Rich Carlos. Fondly. He was a really good kicker, but sometimes he would miss wildly. In fact, I think he still has the record for the shortest field goal missed in the Super Bowl. It was like a 20-some yarder that he shanked pretty wide. So he did that once in a while. It was still great. It was still a great kicker, one of the best in Broncos history. But yeah, he would. I don't think it was deflected.
Okay.
Sometimes he just missed bad.
I wasn't really sure. Well, Cleveland starts on their own 33. 3 minutes left in the half. Mac runs for 13. Breaking 2 tackles, and he did a nice little leap over someone. I kind of thought that was neat watching like a big guy do that. We see a lot more of that these days. Pass to Webster Slaughter for 9 yards. Another repeat person, because we looked at him when we did the greatest comeback ever game. He was an Oiler, and I'll say what I said then. I don't care what your first name is. If your last name is Slaughter, you can be it. It's going to be awesome.
One of your favorite
Dexter
names.
Manley.
Mm-hmm. Dexter
Webster
Manley.
Slaughter.
Yeah, but Dexter Manley couldn't read it.
Butcher.
Why are you making fun of Dexter Manley like that?
There was a Detroit Lions player named last name of Butcher, I believe.
Oh God, yeah, those are good. I used to have not a friend, but someone I worked with peripherally, and his first name was Renus.
And what was your nickname for him?
No, when he introduced himself, hi, my name's Renus, and yes, I know. But Renus Slaughter would have worked.
Yeah. Did you tell him this?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see him that many times to say that. I mean, the guy's name, he deflects everything right away. There's nothing to make fun of. That's just, it's like when someone's 3 feet tall and they say, yes, I know the weather's bad down here. I don't know. I mean, what are you going to say? You just tell them that stuff. It's what?
I'm not going to say anything.
Let's move on.
That's not what I'm thinking. Well, I do have a little person story that I'm not going to tell on air, but I'll tell you off air.
Yeah, so do I. That involves a pool table. Anyway, on 2nd and 1, a bad throw. It's almost picked off. Gives to Buchner, but he doesn't make it. We got 4th and 1. Looks pretty clear that Schottenheimer is going to go for it. And the crowd, the Denver crowd, again, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They've got a shot in the audience of this interesting looking punk girl with orange hair. I wrote down with an emoji, bleh. Sorry. Because again,
He's watching. You're going to get hate tweets and hate emails from her.
And again, because I recognize because I'm so good looking. Mac rushes for 2. They get the first down. So we're on the Denver 43, incompletion to the middle to Slaughter, and then they're getting chippy there. Clearly the Browns are getting frustrated. He thought he was targeted by Lilly. He wasn't. Throws a punch in front of the ref. Luckily, like nowadays, that would be an ejection, no? I think.
Yeah.
I think he would get ejected.
Yeah.
In fact,
right away.
I think you could get ejected back then too. It just wasn't as often, but it would let stuff slide.
Yeah, but Slaughter was not targeted, but he doesn't have eyes in the back of his head like Elway, because then he would have known that he wasn't targeted. Yeah. 2nd and 25. Kosar to Brennan at the 50. Rule the fumble, and I've never seen a fumble like that where the helmet hit at the same time as the ball gets released, because his knees didn't go down, his helmet came down first. It was like the French, like accent circumflex.
Right.
Going down like that. Right call, wrong call. I mean, it seemed like tie, right? So you can't. There wasn't anything enough to overturn.
I'm not sure about the rule. I mean, I immediately thought of the Don Beebe game against the playoff game against Cleveland, where he caught the ball, landed on his helmet, and then lost the ball. And I think that was deemed an incomplete pass because he wasn't down on his feet or his knees. He was down on his helmet.
Well, but in this case, so he had the ball. So he was already, right. It was just like when it got punched out from him. And again, just another great job of Denver just going after the ball. It looked like
you weren't down because your helmet was down on the ground.
No,
Your knee was still up, your arm was still up. So I guess technically you were still up.
And even when you look back at the limited replay they had, it looked at that it happened at the same time. So you can't really overturn it if the call.
Yeah. The rules back then were like, not like today where it's got to be conclusive evidence, but they didn't have good footage. So I think they just went with the call on the field on that because it was so close. But I thought that if your head was down on the ground, I think you were down, but.
Well, then I immediately thought of the Don Beebe catch where he caught it, landed on his helmet. He wasn't down, or he was down on his helmet, but he lost the ball because, if you're going to land on your head, what are the chances are you're going to hold on to the ball in that particular situation? But it was called an incomplete pass.
At this point, and again, because I couldn't remember how this went up, I would have thought for sure that Denver was just going to roll into another touchdown, but that didn't happen. Elway gets sacked in a grasp, which gets called back because of another dumb Cleveland penalty. But the next play after, it's a real sack. Clancy gets the sack. And I think that's the only time they really did get to Elway. So Cleveland gets the ball, but they don't call a timeout with a minute left. So Moran...
they only had one left, right?
Yeah.
So it was either you use it there, and then you get the punt and you're going to get it with no timeouts and a minute left versus what they got back with 40 or 50 seconds left. So I guess pick your poison there. What are you going to do?
That's true. So Kosar, he starts on his own 37. Biner past the Biner gets him to the 48. They use the timeout. He overthrows Brennan, who did have a step on the secondary. So that was certainly a missed opportunity there. But then the next play, Slaughter gets open to the 32. And I wrote down, hurry up, Kosar, clubfoot, move. You got to spike the ball for this shot. And he's just, what are you doing? Oh my God.
Were you yelling at the TV?
Yes.
That's what's so great about these games. We know how they end. We vaguely remember some of the events that happened, and we're still yelling at the TV.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm a fan of either team. What did I care? And then Matt Barr comes in, and then what we talked about earlier, he was rehabbing the whole year, went wide right on 45 yards, but they have to go for it there. There's nothing else they can really do, I suppose, unless they want to go for it. But halftime, 21-3. I didn't see which marching band was playing. I'm sure they were fantastic. Or not. I don't know.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the marching band, where now at every NFC or AFC championship game, you have the halftime band show, and with whatever Shakira or whoever pop artist is popular at the time performing at that halftime show now, to where, you had the marching band.
You still had marching bands in the Super Bowl, didn't they?
Yeah, I believe
1987. So. I don't know if the big halftime shows made its appearance.
Shows, because I remember the big thing was when Whitney Houston sang the national anthem in 91. So it wasn't even talking about the halftime show at that point.
So useless, but pretty much the biggest reason that we have big halftime shows now, I'm going to credit that to Keenan Ivory Wayans, because they counter-programmed against the Super Bowl Alive in Living Color.
That's right. I remember that.
And they said, why? And they pretty much said, why watch a marching band when we can laugh your ass off? And we did. I was one of the many who turned the channel to watch that.
And then didn't MTV do something along those lines too?
I don't know. They might have after, but at that point, nowadays it's must watch, right?
You know what they used to do back then? I forgot in the Super Bowl, the Bud Bowl. And
that's right.
They had the Bud Bowl at halftime.
You were reading my mind.
That's right. Yeah. I can't remember when that happened, but I know it was late 80s.
I wonder how Bud Seltzer would do. They'd probably not do very well.
You know what? There's an idea. Bring back the Bud Bowl and Bud Seltzer coming off the bench.
I have to admit, I start off my Super Bowl Sunday. My wife and I, we watch the Puppy Bowl on Animal Planet or whatever channel that's on. I like dogs. What can I tell you?
Everybody loves
Well,
dogs.
yeah, puppies are. I mean, come on.
Absolutely. You know?
Happiness is a warm puppy.
Well,
right.
or a cold turtle if that's all you had, because that's all I had for a while.
Yeah, cuddle with your turtle, Kirk.
Well, they're not really good at it. They bite. Anyway. All right, back to the game. This is our halftime show. Cleveland kicks off. Ken Bell returns to the 25. Winder rushes for 1. Elway to Sewell, that's only going for 2 yards. But Winder's called for holding. Again, they didn't really show much of that. So 2nd and 19, but Winder gets it back to the 24. Elway scrambles, and then something goes right for Cleveland. Elway makes a big mistake, trying to make something out of nothing, and Felix Wright gets an interception. And that's on Elway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bad throw.
Mm-hmm. So Cleveland's now got good possession. What are they going to do? On the Denver 35, Mack, who's been phenomenal this game, rushes to the 22, and Enberg says, he's like a second coming of Marion Motley. No, but that's what you got to do. You got to build the stars, and that's what Glenn and I, when we looked at that USFL game.
Yeah, night and day.
Yeah,
night and day.
Corso, not Corsi. Every time I said the name wrong, you should have said not so fast, but no.
I should have, but I you're on a roll.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was your Canadian accent.
Hey, first off, we don't have accents. I just want to point that out, eh? All right, yeah, okay. That was a softball. I gave that one to you.
I know you did.
Yes. But that's what you got to do. You got to make these people feel like they're bigger than life. And Enberg and Olsen, they're just pros. I mean, they weren't my favorite duo, but they're doing what they should do. Buchner gets another 4 yards. They mentioned another great thing that they did. They brought up a graphic that said that Cleveland outscored Indianapolis the week before 24-7. Another reason, don't turn that channel. I mean, so you're also saying a fact, A, and then B, a reason why, if you think that
keeping eyes on the product, which the
right.
USFL didn't know how to do in their first weekend.
Speaking
of the original push.
Let's just segue out of there. Did either of you guys watch the new incarnation of the USFL?
I didn't.
I watched the first day of it.
Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's football. I mean, it's higher level college football.
Yeah.
That's basically it. But it still doesn't feel. I mean, football in spring just doesn't feel right.
Well, you just have to have someone say, "Well, this feels like a fall day."
I know what you're saying, but again, I mean, we're so ingrained as a society your hockey playoffs, your basketball playoffs, and beginning of baseball, and that's what your spring is.
My problem
is to try to introduce football into it is just really tough.
Springtime, and I just don't expect them to be around long, so I'm not going to get super invested. The league's not connected to the NFL, so chances are they're probably not going to make it. So I don't know. I like football. I like watching football. Just waiting for the inevitable.
Too many other choices is all it is for me.
Too many other choices. And I mean, go ahead.
I got too much going on. We just finally moved into our house, so I'm trying to unpack. I just haven't watched it, So
yeah.
Well, not only that, but if you're packed and you're in an established home, you're coming out of winter, you're going into spring. And I think, come Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to try to be outside as much as possible.
I live in Winnipeg. There is no.
That doesn't involve having my phone tuned to a USFL game.
Yeah.
Well, the best quarterback is Kyle Slaughter right now. So
there's that name again, Slaughter.
Yeah, he's got, he's been bounced around the league on practice squads, and he's likable character, but he's the best quarterback right now. So that tells you the level of quality of the competition. If you're going to watch a football game, or you're in the springtime, which you're not used to, and you've got other choices or something else to do, and you think it's football, but
Mhm.
I've got a lot of other things to do. Whereas NFL, you're like, or even college at this point, if you're invested in college football, you're going to watch those games. But USFL, people are going to make other choices, which is why I think they're not going to be sticking around long.
Well, maybe Trump can buy it.
Don't get me started.
It's just that you're not going to make it if you're not connected to the NFL somehow. That's my take is if you're going to start a league, you need to have it somehow connected to the NFL in order to make it work. So some sort of league that you can have NFL teams put players onto that team, sort of like what they did with NFL Europe and the World Football League.
Would be a time to try that again.
Yeah, have that league be its own entity, but have some sort of like research and development type of contract with the NFL. They subsidize some of them because they're putting players on. They can pull, bring them up whenever they want. They can trade the rights to other teams. I mean, that kind of stuff would connect you to the NFL and keep you going. You're playing during the season, the NFL season. People will be interested because, oh, this player actually plays for the Denver Broncos. He's part of the, he was the Denver Broncos player, but he's now on this lower league. They don't have to be affiliated, but they've got to have some sort of connection. And especially if you could trade, if you could trade the rights. So another team says, I want to give you a 7th rounder for this running back that's doing great in, XYZ league, and you trade it for a 7th round pick, you're getting something back, and the team, you can call somebody up from another team. So you got to do something like that to make these leagues work. You can't compete with the NFL, and to do it in spring is, those players aren't going to come up to play in the NFL. It's like, okay, well, we got some players that we're looking at. We can maybe bring them into our league in the fall, but it's not that farm league feel.
And you're not going to want to risk yourself to get hurt for a season-ending thing or career-ending in a USFL. I think trying that out again, because the popularity of American-style football in England has skyrocketed. In Germany, it's bigger than it ever was. I don't know about Amsterdam, but
I think bring back the Europe League might be a good time. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's why the NFL is trying to do this, or maybe they I don't want to do this because we're making so much money on merchandise with NFL teams that we don't want to throw someone else in there. But I think it's got to be some sort of connection to make it work.
But now would be a good time to do that, particularly coming out of COVID, and the fact that they had 2 years where they had the expanded practice squads. Yep. Where they went from 6 to, was it as high as 12 or
16, 13? I think.
Okay, 6. So
16 at one point, but maybe I'm wrong. It seemed like
15 rung a bell. But if you have each of the NFL teams that have a 15-person practice squad, you can do a supplemental league with your practice squad players. And let them play in Europe. Let them develop, keep their rights. If somebody's showing something, you're right. You might get a 5th, 6th, or 7th round pick for a running back that you may or may not use. But hey, you're developing him, you drafted him, or you signed him as a free agent, put him on the practice squad. That's the way to go to link a 2nd-tier league with your NFL and have eyeballs on it.
Yeah, and make them protected so someone can't come in and swoop them up. So that instead of having the practice
versus the practice squad where they can be signed off the practice squad and you lose that investment.
That's right. Yeah.
You want to make a deal for them.
Yep.
I've already figured out the marketing in Germany. It's the NFL and you will like it. Sorry.
No, that was good.
Thank you.
We definitely went quite a ways away from the AFC Championship game we were talking about.
Yes. Well, that tends to happen on things I do. Well, Kozar has his best play of the game. As he's going down, he doesn't lose focus. He finds Reggie Langhorne in the end zone. We got a ball game, 21-10. Or so we sort of thought, because
it's getting there.
It's getting there. But I'm trying to put myself in as a Cleveland fan. Okay, this feels great. And then the next drive by Denver, you just feel like so bad, especially the way that sort of happened. So we get a touchback. Denver starts on their own 20. Elway to Jackson for 9. Winder gets stuffed. Lang gets a first down only to be called back on a hold by from the center, Mike Freeman. But then Elway is Elway. On the next play, it's just beautiful. He makes something out of nothing. He gets away. finds Mark Jackson, who came back, and then two missed tackles.
Juked. Yeah.
Yeah, and he just took two Browns out of their shoes. Yard. I know they weren't keeping stats of yards after catch. I counted about 80.
Yeah.
For Jackson here. Just absolutely phenomenal. 28-10.
I feel like it's over.
It did. It would have felt like it's over if I was watching. I probably did feel that way when I was watching that at the time. Then they mentioned the Three Amigos, and okay, I'm going to take a shot at not necessarily Mark Jackson, but whoever wrote on his shoes.
You didn't like that?
Three Amigos.
Okay, but okay. So but it was really they wrote over the tape, right? So anyway, so they look at the left thing and it says 3 and then Amigos. Okay, but the problem is, whoever I guess they have no depth perception. Whoever did it for him, because unless he did it himself, and if he did it himself,
sure he did it himself.
Well,
maybe not.
It was like an eye test. As the letters keep getting smaller, it's just going down. And then on the right one, then it goes and then Vance with the big V there because I'm running out of space. And then again, the letters are getting smaller. So what shouldn't have been the 3 and then Amigos? Because he spelled it 3 Amigos, the Vance.
Well, the Vance was for Vance Johnson. It was in the hospital.
Well, I know that, but I mean, like, don't you put the Vance 3 on the left and then
Kirk would have done it differently.
I think he went by the Vance for a while, if I remember correctly. Well, it was kind of his nickname.
I did have an English degree from university that has been completely worthless until this very moment. So I just needed to dust that off for this purpose.
I enjoy your write-ups of the Tampa Bay Lightning top 50 players of all time. I enjoy them.
Yeah, never had one lesson. Anyway. So yeah, I wrote about that. So
I want to make one comment about the offense. I know people like crap on Dan Reeves. I think he's a Hall of Fame coach. But the thing that I really enjoyed about this game, and I kind of forgot about it, and I was thinking about why don't they do this more often in today's game? I really rarely see it. And maybe it's because they don't have someone like Orson Mobley, was as big as a small guard back then. Put him in motion and time it just right so that he's a lead blocker going through the middle of the line after his motion for the running back. They did it several times in this game. And just to me, it's like, why isn't that more prevalent? And maybe because tight ends are pass catchers now, not blockers. But
incidentally, that was actually I thought I had lined up as a guest.
What's that?
That's who I thought I might have had lined up as a guest actually for this.
Orson Mobley? Are you serious?
No, I'm serious. I interviewed him like 7 years ago, and when the site was in its infancy. So I reached out to him again saying I'm doing this, and then he got back to me when Glenn was in New Zealand, and then I said, which day works? I'm not sure. Glenn's going to let me know, and then he never did. So we lost Orson Mobley because of Glenn. So.
No! Don't throw that on me. I said I can be available anytime.
Man.
That's how I remember it.
No, we tried to get Orson. He never got back to you. Orson, you're welcome to, if you're watching this, please, we will do another game that you played in for the Classic Sports Review just to have you on the show, because we love having the former athletes. We've had them before, and those have been my favorite shows. The one with Chris never made it to air, but that was probably one of the best shows we ever did.
Yeah, but we had him back.
Richmond Webb was phenomenal.
Yes.
So yeah, we love having the athletes.
Absolutely.
And I don't count as an athlete. Even if I'm Buffalo's greatest triathlete, I do not count.
I'm not even going to try to say that I count for anything. I hurt myself putting Lego together.
I loved Mobley back then. I kept waiting for him to take the next step and be a superstar because he had all the qualities: big, pretty fast. He never really took that next step. But man, he had all the qualities of a good tight end.
He's a large human being.
Super tight end. Yeah. They said he was starting 265. I mean, they would list him at 256, but
he looked bigger than that.
Yeah, he was a big boy and he could move. Just never, I don't know. It's just, I think if he played in today's game, he might have some more opportunity. But
Well, Mac rushes the next two, 1 for 5, 1 for 1 yard. So 3rd and 4. But then we learned that there's another injury. It's a ref.
Pulled a hamstring or something like that.
Yeah, I was like trying to catch up with Mark Jackson. So I've never seen this before, a replacement official in a game. I'm sure I have, I just don't remember. Which did sort of come later because there was a bit of a television glitch because of
that. Was funny.
Yeah. But,
we're running our commercial during the play of this pass because the official did not let us know we were coming out of timeout.
Yeah. There you go. Buchner with a 14-yard catch to the Cleveland 38. 1st and 10. And then Kosar finds Langhorne again at the Denver 33. On the next play, just it's really a soft toss. He slides it behind Mecklenburg, who I guess a kind of a rare mistake for Mecklenburg. He just had his eyes off of it a little bit because then he ran 20 yards untouched into the end zone. 28-17 Denver. So, I mean, that's just, I mean, I can see why when you're looking at Kosar, I mean, we're looking at, again, with what we know now, but you just, back then you're watching a guy who's just finding a way to get it done. Yes, he was slow, but slow what? No.
It's amazing that, you know, Buchner had a phenomenal game.
Yeah.
I mean, phenomenal game. And he's remembered for one huge mistake, but they wouldn't have been in. I don't think they'd been in the game if it wasn't for Buchner. I think
agree.
It would have been
no, he got loose in the defensive backfields, and Kosar reading it led him to where he needed to go and touchdown.
Yep. Scored twice in the second half, 187 yards, something like that.
Oh yeah, great game.
I don't know, it was a great game. But yeah, it's unfortunate for him. He had a pretty good career though.
Well, Denver starts off on their worst field possession, starting on their own 9 when Bell fumbles out of bounds. So Winder, no gain, incomplete to Natil, and then deep. Elway makes another mistake. Lucky he wasn't picked off because he throws deep to Bodie, and it was like 1-on-3 coverage. That wasn't. He's trying sometimes.
I mean, he got the ball in his hands, but he was in no position to pull that in with 3 guys coming down on him.
Yeah, I mean that, and maybe that Bodie, with all due respect to him, that might not be necessarily the guy who's going to pull that off.
No.
Haran punts, short run by McNeil, but they've still got good field position. I think
that's a whole. Yeah.
So Cleveland starting on the Denver 42, Mac for 9 yards, and Cleveland, considering that their O-line was battered, because I thought going into this that might have led to, because I forgot exactly when Buchner fumbled, so I thought that might have played more of an issue in this game than it did, but it really didn't. The O-line I thought did well, and then they showed Bob Golick, and I wrote down why. I don't know why. You're making
camera time for his future role in Saved by the Bell.
The college years. Oh, yeah, the college years. Also, he was fantastic in that one episode of Coach, in an homage to Lyle Alzado.
Well, I didn't see that episode.
Well, it's just like, well, yeah, Coach, I really did take steroids. I don't know how he didn't get an Emmy for that. Okay, let's move on.
Please.
Another nice pass to Webster Slaughter, juggles it in tight coverage, steps out at the 12. Screen pass to Mac, who gets within the 5, and Buchner, there's that other touchdown we're talking about, right up the gut, 27-24.
A lot of production from the running backs.
Oh, when I was looking back, my first thought was, man, are these running backs not as good as I remember? None of those guys this year came close to 1,000 yards, but it was a different game.
Mm-hmm.
You had good running backs, but they didn't churn out the big yards. There were some that did, obviously. I mean, you had OJ getting 2,000 and some incredible seasons with Jim Brown and stuff, but a lot of the running backs were just, they chugged out good yards. They were good running backs, but they weren't, statistically great.
And I think
you had Walter Payton during that era.
Oh,
to put up some yards. Riggins had a couple good years, but I mean the Browns had their 2-headed attack.
which, I mean, we're seeing that from Denver for the most part also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So kickoff into the end zone, 1st and 10 on the Denver 20. Winder rushes for 10 and another 5 on a face mask call.
5.
What's that?
5 yards.
Yeah, that I raised eyebrow for that because I mean was that the era where they had the 5 and the 15?
Yep. And if it wasn't a really blatant yank on it, they'd give him a 5 yard. Now it's 15 no matter what. But yeah. If you brushed it or kind of you pulled it a little, they'd give you a 5 yarder. It's weird.
Well, Mark Jackson is a hero again. On second and 9, he breaks another tackle and gets to the Cleveland 40. And after a winder rush for 3, then we see our friend Orson, who gets his only catch of the day, but it's a good one inside the 30. And he's hurt, as is Mark Harper, one of the 3 guys who took down Mobley, because it took 3 guys.
Yeah. I mean, that was a weird play. I mean, I didn't exactly see how Mobley got hurt, but the guy trying to tackle him, I can see why he got hurt.
I don't know. I mean, maybe his feelings were hurt because it took only 3 to take him down. I don't know. And I don't. Yeah, who got hurt from Harper? I don't remember seeing him the rest of this game. Oh well. Later on, Natil drops what would have been a 5-yard reception, but then Elway overthrows him in the next one. But that might not have been so bad because I was in the end zone and Minifield was just probably the best coverage I saw all game was on that one play. Bodie rushes for 9 on, I don't remember him being much of I guess they're just trying something different. And it did catch him a little off guard because they almost got the first down. But 4th and 1 at the 21, they elect to kick. Field goal is good, 31-24. All right. So on the kickoff, McNeil only gets to the 13, end of the 3rd quarter. And I'm nervous no matter what fan side I'd be on at this point.
I remember sweating it as a Broncos fan. I remember going, this isn't going well this second half. Yeah.
Well, back from break, the first thing we see is Bernie Kosar doing the cross. So he's doing the Hail Mary, whatever that was. And then that's when they mentioned that Modell traded all those number 1 picks, but he was disappointed to learn that Kosar wasn't Jewish. Like, okay.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what they were getting at with that story.
I don't know. I
got me.
I don't know whether that was a curious thing, and I don't know where they were going with that in any capacity.
I mean, was he giving up those draft choices hoping he was Jewish?
I almost want to say something. Well, I mean, he wasn't good with his money, so I guess he wasn't, but I shouldn't.
Well, you just did.
Yeah, I did.
That's okay. No one's watching.
It's not a bad stereotype.
To be good with money? Absolutely not.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Mac rushes for 6, throws to Newsom in heavy coverage. Lucky that wasn't picked off. 3rd and 4, Kosar sees Buchner, who's running up the middle, gets to, and just 53-yard play.
Yeah.
Buchner just does what
Again,
Buchner
just a stud during this game.
Yeah. I mean, gets to the Denver 27. Newsom, I thought he's back again. I don't know why I thought he was only got 1 reception. Clearly I was wrong there. Gets inside the 20. Mac rushes for a yard. We got 3rd and 2, and they give it to Mac again. Plows through for 5 yard. We're on the 17. Then another gain, and we got 1st and goal. Well, Buchner rushes, gets nowhere. Incomplete to Fontenot. I never always say that. Fontenot.
You're Canadian. Give it that French accent.
Fontenot, you know, huh?
There you go.
Yes, but then it just, again, Kosar just found Slaughter just underneath, a little dump pass, and we got a tie. 31-31, 10:45 left.
And a young Tom is very scared at this point.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So when you were watching that, were there a lot of because you were schooled in Oregon then?
Yeah.
All right. So were they all cheering with you or
No,
no?
it was a mix of a lot of different fan bases. So you had to put up with the annoying ones that were just rooting against you. You know, they
For the
didn't even
sake of
care.
rooting against you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there were, where I grew up, we weren't like close to Seattle, or we weren't close to San Francisco or anything. So, there was Cowboys fans in there. There were, Seahawks fans, 49er fans. So there was even a Giants fan that I was a friend with. So I don't even know why I was friends with him after the, 86 Super Bowl, but Vikings fan.
I'm not sure what the fan base. Well, I guess I'm in Blue Bombers country. There you go. I don't think we'll ever do a classic review of a CFL game, but you never know.
We could look. There's got to be a Pinball Clemens game that we can go over.
I just want to do some. Maybe we do like one of those shorts where we just look at where Joe Cap hits what the Angelo Mosca when they're both seniors. You never saw that?
No.
Okay. Another segue. There was a Grey Cup Fan Fest, and Joe Cap, who was a legend in CFL, and I think he did pretty well at one point.
Do you remember what year this was?
This was the inspiration for the movie Grudge Match. So
Okay.
and Mosca just passed away. So I think this was about 10 years ago. You can find it on YouTube. And so they're doing some fan fest. At this point, Mosca he can only use a cane, and Cap says something. Mosca then hits him with his cane. And then Cap, who's still mobile, just comes and clocks him and goes,
Oh, I got to find that.
Yeah. And then if you ever watched like that one, I might have been the only person who watched the De Niro Stallone film Grudge Match. And they kind of lifted off the opening from there, where the two guys are fighting each other, which led to another fight. This will probably be the only time Grudge Match, the movie, has ever been mentioned in a podcast in the last 6 years. Let's move on.
It's quite possible.
I'm sure it's very possible.
I've never seen Grudge Match.
You've missed nothing.
I might have to just look at it out of spite.
So who are you spiting? Not me.
Oh, no.
I told you not to do it.
Good taste? Am I spiting good taste?
It's like De Niro forgot how to say no.
Well, if you need the money.
Does he?
I don't know. When you flash that much green in front of you to do a film.
I guess. I mean, we found out that I guess Bruce Willis just wanted to make as much as possible before. Explained why he did all those weird, like, why is he doing all these films? I guess he just wanted to. Anyway, you're supposed to bring me back.
Well, see, that's the problem when you do so many podcasts in the Buchnerverse and cover so many genres, you just bleed into them in every other podcast you do.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're in the fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter.
Cleveland just scored, tied it up.
Tied it up. And
Young Tom is scared shitless at this point.
Yes.
Go.
Matt pass to Mark Jackson to the 42. Winder rushes for 6, and Sewell gets the rush, goes nowhere. We got 3rd and 4. Another design play for Elway, but this one time it doesn't work. He only gets 2 yards. And Denver, but they not sure what to do here. I was a little confused here. So they stay on the field with 4th and 1 at the Cleveland 48. So I thought they were going to go for it. That's what I would have thought then. But then I forget that Elway was one of the few guys who could actually punt. I forgot all about that. I think the last time I ever saw that was Flutie. Might have been. I think he did.
He did the drop kick.
He did the drop kick.
Drop
Flutie
kick.
did the drop kick.
Yeah.
Cunningham could punt.
Yeah, but those were usually. Yeah, that's true too.
Like he could legitimately punt.
Yeah.
I
think the Flutie would have been after. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, Flutie.
Like later in his career, when he did the drop kick
with
the field goal.
Patriots.
Yeah.
I don't know if he punted much.
Well, either way, Elway's punt isn't very good. I guess they're trying to get him off balance. Really, all they got was 16 yards out of that. So Cleveland's got the ball on their own 32. They're going with what works. Mac 5 yards, overthrows Slaughter, but Brennan brings first down at the 45. Kosar goes for it with Brennan, but Haynes, and I guess Tom, I guess one of the last few times that Haynes was still really, really good, because I thought Haynes had a good game.
Yeah, no, he did. He did have a good game.
Yeah, but he knocks it away, and but then Bayer Ernest catches for 8, but that's not enough. So we got another punt. Denver starting on their own 25, and they mentioned this is around the same time frame that was left over for the drive.
Well, I just want to point out one thing before we get to the next plays.
Yeah.
Castile was like, he was the savior. He knocked the ball loose at the end and whatever, but he also deflected that deep pass that caused them to have to punt too. He had I wouldn't say excellent game. He had a great game for the plays that he played. Like, he was impactful many times.
And we might hear that name again. We very well might. So Denver starts on their
Sorry
own.
for jumping ahead.
No,
I
no,
ruined
actually,
the punchline.
I had no punchline. I had no, and usually when I do, they miss anyway. That's what I do best. So goes back. Elway goes back to work and then finds Natil again. Another guy who just had a phenomenal game. 25 yards in midfield. Winder rushes for 3. Then he goes for it all, but Elway overthrows Natil. But goes back to him again, gets wide open, gets out of bounds at the 20. So it's looking really good for Denver at this point. First down at the 20. Denver takes a timeout, and off a screen pass, Winder just does phenomenal. Just, I don't think they clearly, Cleveland defense did not see that coming. Winder pretty much walks in from 20 yards, touchdown Denver, 4 minutes to play. Is Tom feeling better at this point?
Better, yeah. Anytime that Winder does the Mississippi Mud Walk, I'm feeling pretty good.
Mississippi Mud Walk, I'm not even familiar with that.
Oh, that was Winder's touchdown celebration. It was called the Mississippi Mud Walk. Yeah.
I think what did Edberg, did he bring it up, or did
I think
Merlin
so.
bring it up? Yeah,
One of the two. Yeah. It looked like he's stepping out of mud, the Mississippi mud.
I like when Cincinnati was doing so well this year, and they brought back Icky Woods, who looked like he ate 3 Icky Woods, who does the Icky Shuffle.
I did not see that.
Yeah, well,
I missed that one too.
There's a lot more of Icky. You might as well add a few Y's. Damn, it's just on the fly too. I'll move on again.
How many Y's do you want to add to that, Kirk?
I don't know. Why? Because kick off the field. Cleveland starts on the 25, and Buchner's a beast again. 16 yards right up the gut. Now there's 3 minutes left. Brennan catches at midfield. Denver 45, first down. Kosar flushed out, but he manages to still make something. So Clubfoot finds Brennan at the 24. We got a 2-minute warning. At this point, I would think that, Tom, you must have been thinking Cleveland's going to come and score, and you're already thinking overtime thing in your head.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was praying that some sort of miracle would happen.
Well, the first play out of the 2-minute warning is not good. Townsend gets charged for encroachment. So we have a rare 1st and 5. Buchner gets 5, and that's all he needs on the next play. Buchner is again used here because he overthrows Buchner in the end zone. So he could have been a hero right there, but Kosar missed him. Mecklenburg's offside. So we've got 2nd and 5 and the 9. And here we go. We got a minute 12. Buchner gets the carry. And when I'm watching this for the first time, and I guess realistically the second time from that, you don't really see what Castile did. You just see the fumble. So he's got it. It looks like he's going to go in.
Yeah. He's in. Touchdown, tie game.
When I was watching that, on obviously a snowy looking television, I thought he was in. I thought, there's the touchdown. I didn't see the ball come loose when I was a kid. I was just like, crap.
Yeah.
Well, even rewatching this, you have to pay attention and look.
Yep.
Because it was so subtle.
And this also isn't the days of, they were doing instant replay now, and we saw that used like in the game with with the one helmet down play from Brennan, but there wasn't like the countless amount of ways you can watch a replay now.
Yeah.
So the first time you don't realize what Castile did. So as we see the replay, because we didn't even see the replay until like the first play, I think from with Denver with the ball, just sort of like, rushing up. And then that's when we see, okay, so Buchner has his left, he's not protecting. So he's got
out.
Yeah, so he doesn't have it out, but he's got it down. So
he doesn't have the 3 points of contact on the ball.
Yeah.
He's kind of got it loose. Yep.
And so Castile, this is the fourth time that I counted where Denver was going after the ball and not the player. So, and it worked. There's your pretty much your, I don't want to know about the MVP, but maybe. I mean, like that's great coaching. He was focused. He saved the touchdown. Buchner did make a mistake, but Buchner was so good.
Yeah.
He was.
Oh man.
He was hated after that.
And and this is where then the TV staff, they're doing what I would have them do, and they're focusing on Buchner. And it felt like it was on him for 10 minutes. It was still only a minute, but that was got to be the longest minute watching that game. And it's brutal just sort of like watching him. And he's not selling it. He's showing no emotion, but what had to be going on inside, I can't even imagine. And most of the other Browns are leaving him alone. I mean, we can continue with the game here, but I mean, there's really not much more. Denver kind of runs out the clock. They go in for a safety.
That was the longest ending of a game. That final minute or 2 minutes took forever.
Yeah. I mean, it was really anticlimactic. And I think also too, because we knew that Kosar, they're setting up for one last Hail Mary. And they even say Kosar doesn't have the strength to do this. But
well, it was like almost 80 yards. It was like 75 yards.
Yeah. Although
very few people could huck it that far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or even just to be able to pull that off. But either way, the whole thing now, we're just looking at Buchner. And they had the sort of the agony and the ecstasy thing where first you see Castillo just, hi, Mom. And then right there's Buchner right in the next shot, just down. And I did think that they did sort of catch good replay after where they're showing, because the leadership of Kosar, who comes over, puts his hand on the shoulder. I don't know what he said, but I'm sure he said like, it's all right, hell of a game. Who knows? I don't know what he said, but that's a quarterback. And I can see why he got chance after chance. I don't want to say chance after chance, but why Cleveland loved him. Fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, he was a gamer.
I actually left this game feeling more of a fan of Bernie Kosar than I thought I would. I was not expecting that. I think there was a lot of character that was beyond his years, at age 24 that he was showing. I think Castile should have gotten way more. If this happened now with what we know and with the extra angles that we would have had, Castile would have been a far bigger name. Well, Tom, would you agree on that?
Possibly. He was big in a few big moments, but his career was fairly lackluster.
He would have,
but you would probably see more. You'd see him more on replays and whatnot today, about the fumble. Yeah, maybe so. More well known, maybe.
I mean, it's not quite the David Tyree moment, but it's close.
He wasn't. Didn't become a household name coming out of that game.
But not in Denver, though, right?
Not even in Denver.
Okay,
yeah, I mean, people remember him fondly, like he was the guy that caused the fumble and recovered it as well, I believe. So, we remember him fondly, but we don't think of him as, a special player that, our legends that, we think about. But a very big moment in history that is attributed to him for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's sort of the one thing that I got out of it. That's another thing I got out of that too. Just really, because the way I remembered it, it's all Buchner's fault, and I don't feel that way now.
No, I mean, and again, even if he does score, this isn't the era where you got the 2-point conversion. The best they could do is tie the game.
Mhm.
Then you got to hope Elway's not going to come down and have the drive part 2, or Cleveland's going to lose the coin toss in overtime and Elway won't have to do the drive 2. He's just got to get the field goal position in Mile High where their kicker is pretty consistent.
Yeah.
So best
Yeah,
case scenario,
he
you
didn't
tie
lose
the
it.
game, you get into overtime.
Right. Yeah, he didn't lose the game for him. It's not like he fumbled, but you're right. There was still plenty of he could have maybe got them in position to tie it. That's it.
Yes.
It wasn't
That's
like
the best they were going to do with that touchdown.
Threw a interception and it was returned for a touchdown and that was the end of the game. Then they lost. It was
And Cleveland's not here without Ernest Biner.
No.
Yeah, no, the game, I think without Ernest Biner, the game was a blowout.
No, absolutely. I mean,
well, they wouldn't have
just the turnovers. I mean, you should not win a game when you turn the ball over as often as Cleveland did in this game. And they made it a game, and they were in position to extend the game.
And that's also the other thing too. I forgot to mention, like when they did the halftime graphic, now we always see points off turnovers. They didn't show that because I mean,
it's a huge stat.
Oh, totally. Because what was it? 14 for sure. Was it 14 or 21? No.
14.
Yeah, 14
in the first half. Yeah, 14. The fumble didn't.
But I think 4 turnovers total between the Brennan turnover, the 2 running back, the interception, the running back, the Brennan, and then the last fumble going into the end zone. I mean, and I don't have the statistics on me, but the more turnovers you create or you give up, your win percentage exponentially goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they were in a position to tie this game and give themselves a chance to win, going into hoping for overtime, this was definitely. I mean, when you sent me the text, fumble game greater than the drive, and I accidentally watched both games. Yes, this was the better of the 2 games. From not having any skin in the game, this was the entertainment value game.
All right, so afterwards, Cleveland did make the playoffs in '89, but then we know what happened there. Art Modell kind of gave up on the city, sought greener pastures, got it. Denver did not win the Super Bowl, but they had 10 years later. We know what happened there. So going in, when Denver's going into the Super Bowl, Tom, what's your feeling? Like, they were going in as the underdog, obviously, and like back then, people forget. I think the '80s were the worst decade for Super Bowls. Just
and it was the NFC dominated too, like 13 in a row. I think, I thought they were going to win. I always thought they were going to win. Nervous that first. They threw the 80-yard pass, or was maybe 75. I can't remember the first possession of the game. I'm thinking, all right, they're gonna win. It's going to be a great first Super Bowl for the Broncos, but it wasn't to be. And I think it had a lot to do with the two things. One, like I said, they're depleted secondary, and they just couldn't get any pass rush. And really, they couldn't get a ton of pass rush against Cleveland. And I think that hurt them. So, I thought for sure, this is going to be it. They lost last year with a bunch of mistakes in the first half. It's not going to happen this year, but of course it did.
And it was so weird too, because like in that '80s and early '90s, for reasons that I still don't understand, maybe the two of you might have a theory on that. They're all drafting from the same pool. Free agency wasn't that huge yet, or it never really is in the NFL for that.
No, that was still the Plan B free agency era where you could protect X amount of players, and then you could leave other players unprotected, and you could poach off that list. But it wasn't. I mean, the first big free agency player ended up being Reggie White,
right?
And so that was in 91, 92.
90.
Yeah. So, but the NFC, just for reasons I don't understand, just was always so much better, or their best was better than the other best. Might be more accurate to say. And I, for the life of me, I don't know why.
Could have been the coaching. I mean, look at the coaches on those Super Bowl teams.
Yeah. Coaching was good. I mean, you had Joe Gibbs, won a couple. Then, Bill Parcells, great coach. Bill Walsh, they were the NFC coaches. That was part of it. I don't know, the scouting back then. Yeah, they're all drafting from the same pool, but it was not a refined science back then. And so some people were better at it than others, maybe a lot better.
I guess one of those flukes.
It was. I mean, well, think about the biggest bust in Denver Broncos history, in my opinion, is Ted Gregory. Dan Reeves, they drafted him, and Dan Reeves never even met him. When he came in, he was like, I'm taller than this guy. That we thought he was, 6 foot, but he's really more like 5'9". Like he never met him. The whole story with Ted Gregory is pretty interesting. But so there was, the scouting back then was hit or miss. Maybe they had more refined in the NFC and some of those teams. But yeah, I mean, the NFC was dominated mostly by the Giants, then the 49ers and the Redskins with Gibbs, all good coaches.
How weird is that to now say, like, from a 2022 vision? Okay, so, at one point, one of the best managed teams was Washington.
Yeah.
And the Giants.
To do what Joe Gibbs did, though, back then, even, he didn't have a Hall of Fame quarterback. He won, I think, 3 Super Bowls with different quarterbacks. Yeah. And I mean, he was a great coach. So, I mean, you think about that, there's I'm thinking that's 7, 8, 9 Super Bowls of the 13 by those 3 teams. So a lot of it had to do with coaching.
Got one in the 80s.
83. Yeah. They beat Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah. But after that was the last one of the AFC until the Broncos won it in 98 or 97 season, 98 year.
I've been really enjoying this. Tom, we're going to have you back for next time we do that. Okay. It may not even necessarily be a Broncos game. Sure. We really always enjoy having guests because Glenn gets frustrated with me.
I'll be happy.
I didn't say that. It's just more entertaining.
Well, I mean, Canadians were known for our levity.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Aren't we? Come on.
I don't know.
Jim Carrey, Canadian.
John Candy.
Yes.
Steve Levy.
Yes,
Steve Levy?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes, we have Bieber. Sorry. But we
can take Celine Dion back.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you can take her back.
Yeah, okay.
I love John Candy. He's one of my favorites from those movies in the 80s. Uncle Buck. I mean, so they must be funny. You guys must be funny. You have to be if John Candy was from Canada.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things when he bought a share into the Toronto Argonauts briefly. He joked that there was a guy, Bruce McNall. He bought the Kings, and then it turned out I think he was running a Ponzi scheme or something. Something. Was it okay? Yeah. And
bought the Kings. Did he buy the Honus Wagner cards?
Yeah. And then he bought the Argonauts. That's when he signed Rocket Ishmael.
Yeah, I remember that.
Services contract.
Yeah.
And then who was his partners? Gretzky and John Candy. And John Candy's at the press conference and says, "So how did you get involved?" Well, I called Bruce to congratulate him, and then that's when he told me I was involved. Man, we lost a good one. But I'll now move on to my plug section. I'm going to plug things. This is where I plug away. Plug away.
The Buchnerverse.
On the Buchnerverse. On the Buchnerverse. I've done a few other interviews. Check those out. I interviewed the fine people at the induct Cyndi Lauper into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That was a lot of fun. So check that out. And they tell you why Cyndi should be in the Rock Hall. And it's sort of a shame that she never really got even nominated, but maybe that'll change. In some of the other shows that we mentioned, this crap was on national television. We're going to record probably in a couple weeks, The Powers of Matthew Starr.
No, I don't even remember that.
Well, no one did because it stunk. We're going to look at that. I wanted to do that damn Aaron's Way if I could have found it, but I couldn't find one episode other than, I just tell you, my name's Aaron. That would have been great. Berlin Olsen couldn't act, but he always kept acting.
Oh, he was in tons of TV shows.
The FTD commercials for the flowers, wasn't that him?
That was him, yes.
Yeah.
Buy flowers. Or else. I mean, I can really kick your ass. I look really nice and I look really common. Yes, I was Father Murphy, but
he looks like a nice guy, but yeah, on the field, he
It was the
was.
same with Michael Landon. Turns out he was a big drunk. Okay, sorry.
Was?
That's what I read. I don't know how true that is. Well, maybe the estate of Michael Landon can sue me for the nothing I have. I also
Sue you
have
for the Buchnerverse.
the Buchnerverse, yes, which is now the Landonverse.
Landonverse, yeah.
The Landonverse. We also look at how the hell did this go #1, where we just recorded Wild Wild West. Do you remember who did that?
West.
No,
No?
not that, and not the Will Smith movie.
Oh, I think I know the one you're talking about.
This is the Escape Club.
Yeah. I like that
Yeah.
song.
I did not, and I tell you why I didn't. And that's something that we just
Was that the I wanna be your cowboy, I wanna be your
No,
cowboy?
that song was
Okay.
called "I Want to Be a Cowboy." This was Wild Wild West, and by a bunch of British people who knew nothing about what the Wild West was.
Oh no, then I don't know that song.
Now, you missed nothing. But I tell you why you missed nothing, and I explain how the hell did this go #1.
Wait, if I don't miss anything, why am I going to tune in and listen to this podcast?
I don't know.
Because of the Canadian levity.
Yes,
That's why.
Tune in for the Canadian levity.
That's right.
that's a sad thing. I'm pretty much the host of all these shows, so if people don't like me, shit, got nothing else.
But our sponsors love you.
Oh yeah, I don't have one yet. I got to work on that. I should sponsor me. Sponsored by myself, because that way no one can tell me what to say. I also have another show with Vinny Lospinuso, the wonder kid who knows so much about Halls of Fame. He will tell you why inanimate objects should be in the Hall of Fame, but we actually recorded something today from somebody that you've all heard of. He tells you why Theodore Roosevelt, the former president of the United States, should be in the Pro Football and College Football Hall of Fame. There's a story there, and he tells
That's
you
one we should tune in for.
absolutely, because you want to get your history lessons from someone who can't.
He's 12 years old.
Well, he's got the beard, so I mean, he wouldn't get hurted, and he's also 6'4", so there's that. I mean, when you joke about like 5'9", that's if I was single, that would be what I put on my Tinder profile, even though I'm not. Yeah. Good. Thank God I'm married, because God knows who would have me.
Keep plugging your shows, Kirk.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty much. Oh, and there's
that's
also
it?
no. There's the weekly Hall of Fame show with Evan Nolan. That's the flagship of the Buchnerverse,
That's right.
where every week we talk about Halls of Fame. Sometimes there is no new Hall of Fame related news, so I usually just talk about garbage. Sometimes Glenn was a special guest one time. I think that time I said why everyone hated Megan Rapinoe, and look, I was right.
You were right.
Now she's going after The Rock. Oh, that's going to end well. That's going to make people love you. You see that?
I did not hear about that. Why is she going after The Rock now?
Because she says like her girlfriend or her wife's brand something that Sue Bird's doing, and apparently the new XFL logo looks too much like it. Said, well, I'm going to sue you guys. Better get lawyer up. Yeah, that's gonna.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's gonna go real well. Especially considering that other people called her out for being a little bit misogynist because The Rock owns it with his ex-wife. Ha! Yeah, you're taking down a fellow woman. Didn't see that one coming, did you, Megan? Huh? Where's your Subway commercials? Don't have them anymore? Okay. Man, it sounds like I really hate her and I really don't. Anyway, let's close at this before I say even something dumber than I usually do. Too late?
Nah, it's par for the course.
Par for the course, yes. It's what I usually do. Wherever you are, wherever you may be, stay safe. Stay safe, everyone. I'm not going to edit that out because I can't be bothered. Bye.